We've got some must-add prospects and injured players that will give your team a much-needed boost when they get back, and much more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. And I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, is my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly, truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel and gives you notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly to Matt and I, guys, join us on the Subtext platform. You could find the link to our Subtext in the bio to our episodes, whether you're listening or watching, and available on all of our social media platforms. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience through text messaging. You get alerts right to your phone, including prospects, call-ups, injury alerts, and so much more than we can offer in this 30-minute episode. And guys, today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it's a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist classic on Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. And guys, I'm back once again. Matt, I appreciate you carrying the heavy load with, I've had so much going on in life, and thank you fans for, sticking in there with me through this tough time. But hey, I'm here with some baseball. We got some must-add prospects, injury players, just, guys that are really going to help your team right now. And Matt, where are we going first today, brother?
All right. Well, we're talking prospects, and I might as well lead off with somebody I didn't mention last week, and that's Kyle Manzardo. Kyle Manzardo ended up on the Guardians after a trade last year with for Aaron Savale going to Tampa, and it looks like they capitalized and got it. I mean, I feel like it's a win-win. Tampa got a great pitcher, and Guardians got a bat that's kind of must needed for their lineup to grow and stay young, essentially, because Ramirez is towards his end of his latter half of his career. So they got to fill in with talent, and I think Manzardo was a great add. And so far on the season, I think he's been fantastic. Well, maybe not fantastic, but pretty good. 115 at bats. Plate appearances, 96 at bats, 24 runs, 9 doubles, which is fantastic. 8 homers, 19 ribs, walked 15 times to 19 strikeouts, batting .323 on the year, and OBP.
Yeah, it's been kind of fantastic.
It actually has.
Short. He's been really good.
Yeah, right. You know what? Sometimes I get the feedback, Matt, you love prospects too much, but I gotta love him. You know what? And even his slug and his OPS, like his slug is a 667, which is actually really great, and his OPS is a 1067. The dude is like honestly, like pretty good. Like I gotta say, I'm probably selling him short, but he's 6'1", 205 pounds. Plus power, speed's not there, but good plate discipline. The dude has been just a solid prospect through and through. Last year was a down year, and I feel kind of the reason why, outside of, getting the trade, why we didn't see him in September. But I feel like he should be getting called somewhat in the near future, somewhere after the Super 2, just based off of the need that Cleveland has, and also to the fact that I don't think they could keep him down much longer. So Kyle Manzardo, I believe, needs the promotion in order to develop more, and I think the time is right. So I don't know if I'm stashing him right off the bat, but I mean, if you need a first baseman, Kyle Manzardo's your guy to possibly give you long-term value. So Kyle Manzardo, consider it, but at least watch list him.
Yeah, Matt, great take there on Manzardo. And the guy just gets it done, and he's really like taking it to another level this season. Batting average is something that he's always shown. So when he comes up, batting average and power right out of the gate, I'm expecting out of him. And you know what? Cleveland's actually been, pretty good this year. First place right now in the AL Central. But hey, the AL Central is actually competitive. I mean, besides the White Sox, which is pretty much the worst team in baseball, every other team is competitive in that division. So if Cleveland wants to stay on top, Manzardo is somebody that could literally come up and contribute right away at 23 years old. Matt read you the stats, raking right now in AAA. Doesn't really have anything left to prove. 53rd prospect in all of the MLB right now. He's 8% owned on Yahoo. Like Matt said, at least watch list and stash. Maybe in your AL onlys, if he's available, you pick him up right now, because I don't think there's much longer for them to hold him back. But let's move on to actually another Cleveland Guardian. Let's talk about Jase DeLauter. And Jase DeLauter is somebody that I'm actually happy that we have on the episode today. I actually own him in one of my dynasty leagues. I'm very happy about it. Cleveland's doing something right over there. They're acquiring or drafting, a lot of good players. They have, some pitching guys too that we've spoken about before. But I think with DeLauter specifically, this guy is somebody that could be right around the corner as well. Actually off to a little bit of a slower start than last time I checked. Guys, bear with me if you're a fan. You know I've been going through a lot. So only batting 197 right now in Double-A. Through 16 games, small sample size, 9 runs, a homer, 3 RBIs, 9 walks to 13 strikeouts. You do like to see that with only 1 steal. But let's look back at what DeLauter did last year and the real reason he's on this episode. Hit 355, across 3 different levels, 57 games, 35 runs, 22 doubles, 5 homers, 39 RBIs, 23 walks to 30 strikeouts, and 6 steals. So DeLauter might not be as close as Manzardo is, but in your dynasty keepers, stuff like that, you want to keep your eye on a guy like this, 28th prospect in all of baseball, so even higher end prospect than Manzardo. But DeLauter can really steal some bases, tiny little bit of pop. Somebody that I definitely think we're throwing on watch list at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, on some boards too, he's even ranked the 11th prospect, especially for fantasy purposes, just based off of what he can come into. And two, like what I love about him too is his size. He's a big body guy, 6'4", 235. Like he has the potential to seriously grow. I know the power's there and whatnot. It just hasn't shown in the short stints that he's had, I guess, when he was out there. But I mean, DeLauter's a fantastic prospect for the Guardians. Who knows? Maybe they'll actually turn things around. I'm starting to really hate the AL, just because it's getting too hard for our Yanks there. But I want to move on, and I want to talk about Cade Horton, pitching prospect this time. And Cade is awesome. Like, I love this dude. Cade is one of the top-end prospects as well. Let me pull up him real quick.
23rd, according to MLB.com.
Right, and 17th on RotoWire that I like to use. And my guy has had a good career, right? So in 2024 so far this season, he has 16 innings pitched, he has 18 Ks, he has an ERA of 1.10, right, and a WHIP of 9.3. Last year he had 3 different levels, a grand total of like what? They don't do the math for me on here, but in Double-A, essentially the highest one, he had 27 innings pitched. He had 31 Ks. He had a 1.33 ERA. Got better every level. So started off the year at A plus, had a 4.33 ERA. Got the demotion to A, and then sent up to Double-A. And then he had a 1.26 ERA and was just smoking the cover off the ball. Ended up in Double-A. I just love the potential of Cade Horton. He has gas. He has pitches. And I think he's going to be a great pitcher for the Cubs organization and for fantasy. It's just a matter of, does he kick off right off the gate once he gets the call, or does he not? It all depends on the pitcher and, essentially the situation. But I like him. He's somebody I don't know if I'm stashing, but right now this week, but he may be the pitching prospect that I stash going into the Super 2, because he could get the call pretty much right away. Because I see a path for him to get on the roster almost immediately after Super 2.
Yeah, Matt. Actually, you know what? Before I give my thoughts here on Cade Horton, and then we have a couple more prospects, and then we get into some nice, injured players who can really give your team a boost. We do have a quick ad for you guys. And guys, we're talking about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is what also keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts Parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for, and with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. And guys, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? You have to turn down the volume with all that shouting. Make the switch over to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for your everyday to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And guys, once again, we're introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. As this season unfolds, you can rely on us for dynamic content. You're going to get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more than we could offer in this 30-minute episode. Stay ahead of your fantasy league by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where the path to your victories begin. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. Woo! Matt, as always, brother, we always say it. That's a lot. It's a lot. So why don't you hop on in here and talk about this next guy that we have up? Oh, wait, actually, time out. I think I didn't get to talk about Cade Horton, so I think I actually have to chime in real quick. And okay, I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen. I actually did want to get in here and talk about Cade Horton because I'm a big fan as well. Even though I believe Matt owns him in our dynasty league.
I do.
Is a great guy to own. He has an elite slider. His slider is a very, very good pitch. The fastball's above average as well. I think if he could develop either that curveball or change up a little bit more, get that third pitch going, we're going to see this kid take it to another level once you get to the bigs. The spot, though, that's what I'm worried about. The Cubs rotation is actually looking pretty good right now with Imanaga, Wesneski, Tyon, Assad. They called up Ben Brown. Ben Brown is actually doing okay. Not great, but we've seen some flashes from him so far. So, whether Wesneski, Assad, Brown, perform, start to struggle, somebody gets hurt, I could see the path. But, if these guys just kind of keep rocking and rolling, might be a little bit tougher. But, Matt, you broke, Cade down very, very well. So, I'm not going to say anything else besides the 23rd prospect in all of baseball. So very highly touted here. Let's move on to this next guy here. Let's talk about Cade Povich. And I'm going to shoot straight with you guys. This is somebody that I'm not like super, super familiar with. So, Matt, I'm actually honestly going to pass this over to you because I think you're a little bit more familiar with him than I am.
I kind of am. He's just somebody a name that kind of came across my board when I was trying to see, okay, what prospects can possibly make it up this year for the show. And I did a little bit of a dive on him, and I feel like he's somewhat relevant. I mean, you look at what he's doing this season, and he's honestly having a great season, right? So far in 2024, he's had 32 innings pitched. He had 45 K. He has 45 Ks, a 1.11 WHIP. I mean ERA, and a .897 WHIP. Fantastic numbers overall in AAA, killing it. Baltimore pitcher. I love the numbers, but then you look at his history and you're like, okay, why are you talking about him? 2023 was an atrocious season with a 5.04 ERA, but the thing that I'm focusing on is the 126 innings pitched and 171 strikeouts, right? And that's kind of more of what I pay attention to when it comes to pitchers in the minors, especially when they're going from AA to AAA and so on and so forth, even though his AA numbers weren't as better in terms of his ERA. But in the minors, these pitchers are working on pitches and different releases, and they're constantly getting feedback and tinkering with their stuff. So, yes, some of these pitchers in the minors are just their numbers look absolutely bonkers, and they're able to adjust pretty much instantly. And some guys, it takes a little bit more time. So, for Cade to come in and just have this season after taking all of last year's feedback and going into this season and looking fantastic the way he is, gives me a sense that he's somebody to talk about and somebody to keep an eye on. I'm not running out and stashing this kid, but at the same time, I am going to go and say, hey, keep an eye on him. He gets a call up, add him speculatively. If it's a good matchup, start him. If it's not, maybe just hold him on the bench for the start. And if he does pitch good, then maybe we could discuss what to do with him in the next start. Do we roll him out? And so on and so forth. But don't forget about this kid. Povich could totally come out and just, be really good. This happens all the time. You look at a guy like, I don't know, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. Miller's ERA, Bobby Miller from the Dodgers.
Yeah, I know
His
you're
ERA,
100% right. He had a kind of similar situation in the minors where when he first, got drafted, came up in the minors, looked good. Then he had a couple, down years in the minors, and then, finally figured out. And you're right, Povich kind of seems to be on that same track. That's a great comp, Matt.
yeah, because Miller had like a 5 ERA or a
He
high
did.
fours
He did.
ERA
I
before
think
he
it was
got the
like
call.
5.
Yeah, before he got the call. And, I kind of misjudged him. So, like, I kind of have taken it back a little bit more. And I'm like, okay, Povich can actually have some value. So let's just keep an eye on this kid. Because, again, he's not like the guy like we're all paying super attention to. But you know what? One of the things I'm going to say is to that Baltimore lineup and the potentials for wins with Povich just gives him an elevation right there. So I'm all about it. So let's just keep an eye on him, stash him, and not stash him, keep an eye on watch list him. And then the second he gets a call, let's just pounce all over it.
Matt, I will say this real quick too, as I'm kind of just deep diving Povich here myself. He's always had good control. Even last year was the one year exception that he didn't have good control, but every other year in the minors, very good control from this kid. Looks like he's more known for his changeup than anything else. Some wiry mechanics from him, But yeah, great take on Povich, Matt, here, and keep it pushing, brother.
Thank you. All right. I mean, you want the next guy? Or?
Nah, that's one of your boys. I do know more about this next guy, so I have a take on him.
Go
but
ahead.
Hey, man, it's one of your guys. You're on fire. Keep it going.
Nah, go ahead, take it, because
Yeah, sure. So let's talk about Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw from the Cubs. Cubs great team there, and Shaw, is a great young player. Middle infielder. He's not a big guy, 5'9", 185. But kind of still got some wiry talent. Has hit some home runs there. Hit 24 back in 2023 with a 341 batting average. Hit 22 homers in 2022 with a 290 batting average. Has chipped in some speed as well. So a guy like this kind of has like that Jackson Churio type build where they don't come off as they're that big and strong, but he's got some pop to him. The batting average is something that's always been there. 342, 369, 444, 360. So a guy that can really come out there and get it done. The Cubs, another team, been pretty good with prospects so far. Trying to see, I don't really know where they're going to want to put a guy like Shaw. As I'm looking at the lineup here, unless they want to move Morel around or Bush or even Matt Mervis, who they called up if they who's been DHing a little bit here and there. So there's potential. Even it's always an injury or two away from anyone getting called up, and I think Matt Shaw is somebody who is right around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, it takes an injury for him to come up to get that call too. I mean, you look at it like, Swanson always takes a little dip. Horton always takes a dip. You know, right now there's just a roster clog, but Shaw is honestly killing it. And the one thing you highlighted the power that he had in college, but like even last year through the 157 at bats that he had in the minors across literally 3 levels, he had 8 home runs and 157 at bats. That's like a 40 home run pace if you really think about it. It's absurd.
He smashes, man.
And he had 15 stolen bases in that time too. So what I could say is, obviously we're not going to see that when he comes to the bigs right off the gate, but the upside and the potential is truly there. He did it in college. He's no stranger to performing at such high levels. And the best part is though, we've only seen like a 24 home run season in the college at NCAA level in 264 at bats. So there is a whole nother level of power to this kid that I think we're all under like, I guess, kind of looking past being that he's such a small dude. But I mean, guys like Dominguez who also have that are smaller can still be super successful. Shaw's just one of those guys that can get the job done. And man, he gets the call this year. He's going to be really interesting. Somebody that could truly contribute. Cubs look scary, especially the way Pete Crow has been playing since he got the call. But, before we move on and we start talking about guys you need to stash on your IL and just stash in general, we have one last sponsor for you, and then we rocking and rolling right to the end. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It is just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. You pick more or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Exploring my skills on PrizePicks this season adds an extra layer of excitement to daily fantasy sports. With just a few taps, you can transform $10 into $1,000 easily. PrizePicks is incredibly user-friendly. You can make your selections, submit your entries in less than 60 seconds. And guys, if I'm talking about the site, I might as well give you some picks too, right? So opt for Ryan Mountcastle to have higher than 0.5 total bases in his next start. Today, you would have did that, would have been gold. Opt for Shohei Ohtani to have higher than 0.5 home runs in his next outing. That's nearly a lock. And opt for CJ Abrams to have higher than 0.5 stolen bases in his next game. We all know that dude steals everything under the sun. He's Mr. Steal Your Girl times 10. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime. The scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure if your team can pull out the win. That's when you dig deep, you lift your head up and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of your friend's money as you humanly possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game, Monopoly Go. Lets you compete with your friends to get riches and the biggest empire. It's Monopoly you love, but on the phone anytime with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly board games. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball. Change other players' rents for iconic properties. You can even work with your friends and crack open community chests and tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, pull your face up, and to get in the game and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store and Google Play Store. All right. And now, Dom, you can take this one, please.
Yeah, let's hop on in here. Let's start with some injury stashes, and let's start with who other than one of my boys, Clayton Kershaw. Now, I know it's a tough time right now. I know there's so many injured players, and honestly, I think next year we got to start expanding ILs, in fantasy leagues, but that's a whole nother conversation. But for right now, if you happen to have the room and you need a great starting pitcher to stash, go for Clayton Kershaw. Only 32% owned on Yahoo. There's not much to say here. Clayton Kershaw is one of the better pitchers in baseball, even in his older age at 36 years old, which he's going to be this year. His last 2 years, 2.67 ERA, 2.56 ERA. It's just, you might not get a lot of longevity from him. Starts might only be 5-6 innings. He doesn't really go deep into games like he used to anymore. But if you need a guy that's going to give you a good ERA, around a K per 9, and, a strong whip, Clayton Kershaw has proved it time and time again. And even the underlying stuff looked really good for Clayton Kershaw last year as a 35-year-old. So honestly, one of my favorite injury stashes, Clayton Kershaw, 32% owned on Yahoo. Stash him if you got the room.
Yeah, see, this is the one that I usually don't have too many questions when it comes to a player that comes off the IL, because he's done it pretty much every year for the last 5 years. So every time he's healthy, he's just one of the best pitchers in baseball. So I 100% need to stash him. I in a lot of leagues too, I was stashing him. He was a guy in all our mock drafts too. There wasn't a mock draft where Dom or I didn't leave the draft without Clayton Kershaw to go on our IL, because we just knew the upside. And last year he was absolutely bonkers. So there's no doubt in my mind he can't do that again once he comes back. So stash him now. 32% owned. He's out there in 68% of leagues. Do it now. Let's get that to 75, 80, because I think he's due back in mid-May at beginning of June.
Matt, I will actually thank God you brought that up, because I was going to, say this myself. I forgot. The update I have right here from DodgersWay.com is saying that he set that loose timeline for himself, which was July, August, and he's very close to throwing bullpen sessions. So honestly, if everything goes right, I say we could see him right after that All-Star break.
Yeah. And I mean, that would be fantastic. He's somebody that could be an instant contributor. So stash him now before, people start getting on board and start thinking about him yourselves. We're a little early to the game, and it's nothing bad about that. Let's talk about another Dodger pitcher, Dustin May. Dustin May, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, had TJ last year, if I'm not right,
Yes,
or is
sir.
it his shoulder? Yeah, had TJ. But
TJ.
yeah, and you look at him and he's like, okay, if this kid could just stay healthy for one whole season, I think it would be absolutely magical. But he's just been hurt every step of the way, and I feel bad for the kid. His career high is 56 innings pitched, And every time he just manages to go down. Even last year, he was working off an injury to work himself back. But when he's healthy, he is productive. Even last year, that short little stint, 48 innings pitched, 34 strikeouts, a 2.63 ERA with a whip of 0.98 and 0.938. Like he's great talent. He's been like this his whole career. Where except for 2022, every other year he's had a sub 3 ERA except for 2 years, 22 and 2019. Like May needs to be stashed. He's due back actually in the middle of May, last I saw. And I want to confirm that. But, if he's back that soon.
I was seeing similar timeline to Kershaw with him because he's about expected to throw off a mound in week to 10 days.
Yeah, I lied completely. It's not May. He's actually available off the IL on 7/18, and that's when they're projected. That's when they're actually projecting him to come back. So we have a little bit of time, but he's one of those guys. Like maybe I'm not adding today, but I will be, smashing that add button come like end of May, maybe June 1st, and they say, okay, I'm going to ride this out and try and hold him all throughout that, and then middle of May going. As we're July, I'm sorry, as we're getting into the playoff time and start thinking about it, boom, I got this instant contributor as well. So, May is a mustache at this point, or a mustache soon.
Yeah, man, great take on Dustin May. I really don't have too much else to add besides, like you said, the kid's got the stuff to be a great elite pitcher, but he's starting to carve out a little section in the hospital, wing for himself there next to our boys Buxton and Mondesi. But with that being said, let's push on to a hitter here. Let's talk about TJ Friedl of those Cincinnati Reds. And TJ Friedl is actually somebody who was really productive last year with 18 home runs, 27 stolen bases, 279 batting average, 73 runs, and 66 RBIs in only 138 games, 488 at bats. Now, TJ Friedl, I actually believe, was just sent on his rehab assignment today as we speak. So it's somebody that if he's out there right now in your league, he is on his way back. And, we said he was productive last year. Reds team has been pretty solid. If anything, for fantasy purposes, Ellie De La Cruz and them boys over there are always good for that. Friedl is 42% owned on Yahoo at the moment. He has only outfield eligibility. So honestly, I think he's a really, really strong stash that will be back very soon. Get him on your teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Friedl as a stash this year. And to be honest, where we were at the start of the season, there was maybe some roster clogs going in there, but Friedl is most likely going to take the center field job once he is back. And that's going to be great. He's guaranteed everyday playing time, and I'm ready to rock. So, definitely stash him now. So you can make sure to have all that production coming to, I guess, a team near you. But yeah, I want to talk about this last guy real quick if I can. I just want to mention the name Jeffrey Springs coming off TJ, not going to be available till like mid-July, but we all know what he was doing, prior to getting TJ and pretty much almost going on a Cy Young run. I think he probably would have won it if he didn't get hurt. He was absolutely stellar last year. He's Dom's boy. And
my guy, man.
Yeah. So he's just such a complete and good pitcher that I think once he's back and out there, you need to have him on your team. So start thinking about stashing him now. If I had to pick between like Dustin May and Springs, it's probably going to be Springs, just based off the fact that I think he'll play more than 40 innings this year. So, but Springs is my guy.
Springs, 9% owned on Yahoo. Got to get him. Honestly, probably one of my favorite starting pitching stashes right there with Kershaw. Honestly, Matt, you said it all. 3 starts, 0.56 ERA, 16 innings, 24 strikeouts, 0.5 whip for Jeffrey Springs last year before he got hurt. But guys, that's all for us today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Shout out to our everydayers and new listeners making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. But guys, until next time,
peace.